And we are live.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the BBL Show. I'm your host, Tony Camper, and I'm here with my co-host, Larry Carter.
Hi, everybody.
And today's guest is, how can I say this? She's a badass. I actually just saw her on the page, I want to say last week. And in the video, she was benching. And she was repping, I want to say 280, like it was nothing. Yep. Yeah, like nothing. And I was like, oh, we got to get her on the show. So let me introduce this week's guest, Miss Jennifer Lynn Thompson. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I had to with a crazy bench like that. So how long you been in the group? I hadn't seen you before that.
A really long. Oh, your group on the Facebook page?
Yeah, the Barbell Life.
I want to say it's probably just been maybe a month or so.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how I got on there. It showed up in my favorites. I'm following it. So
yeah, we have a saying: you don't choose the Barbell Life; the Barbell Life chooses you. And a lot of people say the same thing you're saying. They're like, I don't even know how I ended up in this group, but I love it. I'm like, you were one of the chosen ones.
That's awesome. I like following Belle of the Bar. They're kind of like a women's group in North and South Carolina. And then you popped up right under them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I added you to our all-female group too. It's called Bar Beasts. It's like the Bar. Yeah, it's like the Barbell Life, but all females. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so your video you posted, I won't throw my bench out there, but I was definitely humbled when I saw that. And I'm like, who is this girl, man? And just killing it. And, I had to have you on the show. So we'll start from the beginning. I know you said you've been lifting for a long time. How did you get into lifting weights in the first place?
I used to be a runner. I was like a long distance runner through high school, and I did a little bit in college. And I liked the competition part, but I hated the running part. So I met at the time, it was just sort of a friend of a friend, was way into weight training, and he was always telling me, get in the gym, you're going to love it. Get in your gym, you love it. And so eventually I hung up my running shoes and started training a little bit with him, and then we ended up dating and getting married. So
swole me.
So
he got you.
He was cute and learned about it.
Plus he lived, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it was pretty fun because he had he and his buddies just lifted in our basement. We didn't have a lot of gyms back then up in Michigan, and so he and his buddies bought some free weights and put them in the basement of their house. And so we would have certain days we'd all show up and we'd lift, and then we'd all go out to a party afterwards or do something. And eventually I was catching up to some of his friends in the lifting department. And so they started falling off and not showing up, and it was just him and I.
You're killing it. I'm sure that you've done that plenty of times in your career.
Yeah, I mean, we've always lifted in our home, but sometimes when we're out and about on vacation, we'll go to a commercial gym, and I usually just put my head down and lift, and then my husband Donovan will tell me about everyone staring at me the whole time and who got up and left.
You're like, you know what? You guys probably see you repping their max, and they're like, you know what? I'm done. I quit.
Yeah. Or we'll go with some friends, and they'll be like, what's Jen on today? And I'll be like, oh, I'm benching today. And they're like, oh, we're going to go do some legs. We'll see you later.
That's funny. You said you prefer lifting at home. Is there a reason why you do that instead of, go to the gyms?
Well, it's just kind of being spoiled. You listen to your own music. It's right in your house. You have to go anywhere. There's no excuses about not getting into the gym. It's right downstairs, And for us, it's pretty fun because we have 6 or 7 people show up every single time.
Wow.
So it's really, it's kind of a social thing too. Although we're lifting hard, you've got a bunch of people you're hanging out with coming together and egging each other on and ragging on each other, but encouraging each other and calling each other out. And, you know, so I started a YouTube channel called Thompson's Gym.
Okay.
And mostly I started putting on just all the funny shit we did in there, like all the kinds of awesome conversations. Some of them are really just off the wall. And then people started asking me about some of the, you know, exercises we were doing. So we started doing some tutorials. So it's a little bit all over the place, but it was really kind of just something fun because we're just a bunch of idiots, really.
So is that Thompson?
Yeah, it's just called Thompson's Gym. It's a YouTube channel, and I've gotten progressively better at it. If you go to the earlier ones, they're pretty awful. But as I've done it more and more and learned more about video editing, and people will comment in suggestions on what they want to see next. So like, it's so funny. Like one of our most viewed video is one I did on how to find a dress for an athletic woman. And I always tease everyone because that's like our best one we've done. And it happened to be just a conversation I was having with some of the girls about like an event we had to get dressed up for. And it's hard to find the right clothes to fit women that have nice broad shoulders and slim waists, you know. And so we came up with all these suggestions of being our best viewed video.
I'm actually going to share that video. I'm going to share that video into the Barbies group. I'm sure they'll be able to, you know, get some benefit from that.
Oh, good. That'd be great.
Followers at it. So, and your other channel is 132 pounds of power, right?
Yeah, my husband made that website for me. Like, it's actually a website too. Years ago, like he spent all one month, like putting just all my articles, all my, you know, placings and stuff. Just it started off just for family to keep up with, you know, what we got going on, and then it became this whole beast that it is now. But so there's stuff on there back there from like I don't know. There's probably videos on there back from when YouTube first started.
Oh wow!
I made these videos. They're called Bench Press 101, and then there's a 201, a 301, and they're from quite a while ago. But I still get people watching them and commenting on them, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I went and checked it out the other day, and I was like, "Good Lord, there's so many videos!" Like. That's what it's all about, though. You mean having all that content and, you know, something for everybody. So definitely check that out, guys. 122 pounds of power follower. All right. So you started, you know, working out with your soon-to-be husband. Now, how did you get into the whole powerlifting aspect of it?
Well, at the time, like it was powerlifting was still, I mean, I'm really dating myself. We're talking like 1998 here. And like the internet wasn't big. It was all we had was powerlifting to look up and find meets. There really just, you know, there wasn't a lot out there as far as internet. And I knew I was getting super strong. So I was benching more than my husband's friends. I didn't know where that would fit in. And like at the time, fitness was really big, but you know, I'm not a gymnast and I wasn't into bodybuilding. I think one of the toughest sports is bodybuilding. And so I was trying to find something to do with all my newfound strength. And we went to Venice Beach for our honeymoon, and they had an outdoor bench press competition right on Venice Beach, right by the Gold's Gym there. And so we went and watched, and there's I don't know if you know who Bo Moore is, but he was from years ago. He was like the guy, and there was a couple other guys, and we went and watched it, and we looked up the records, and I was like benching the American record, you know, in our basement, and I'm like, okay, I found my sport. So I went to my first competition in 1999. I made the world team that year and went to Worlds, you know, a few months later. So it was kind of a whirlwind after that.
So you just jumped right to the top, huh?
Well, I did in the bench. Like the 3 lift took me quite a while to get to where I could actually win and be the top for that. I just bench pressed for a while because that's my strength. And then eventually I was like, I want to get this, 3 lift thing and try. And so it took me quite a few years before I was at the top in that. That wasn't an easy road.
So since you said bench is your specialty, what for any viewers out there, what kind of advice can you give for anybody trying to up their bench and some techniques to help improve their bench?
Yeah, usually there's like a few things, like when people ask me about, there's a few things that people, I don't know, a few things I think they can always do. Grip width is way off. Many people just bench way too close together. I actually did a video on grip width, on the mathematical way to find what your optimal width is for your hand placement.
Okay.
And then the other really big thing is leg drive. A lot of people don't use their legs in the bench, and it's so helpful if you can get it engaged the right way. If you can really push your legs towards the bar and keep your butt on the bench, you'd be amazed like how much your bench will go up. We'll have people, they'll email me and say, hey, can we come work out at your gym today? I'll say, sure. And we'll set them all up, and they'll put 10, 15 pounds on their bench just by widening hands, really getting a good arch, using leg drive. Those sort of things always seem to be the ones that people miss on.
Okay. Yeah, I actually I watched, I don't know which video it was. It was just a basic bench video, and you had mentioned the hand placement being a little wider. So I actually benched yesterday, and I went a little wider, and it definitely felt like, when you get to your chest and you get to that point where either it goes back down or goes up, typically I'm like this. So it'll go down, and if it's not going to go up, it just goes down. But this time, having it a little wider, I felt like I was able to push through it and actually get it up. So, I used that technique, and it definitely worked. And my dad, he was a powerlifter. He's in his 50s now, but I mean, he's been powerlifting since I was a little kid. And I remember I benched with him one time, and he was like, why is your grip so damn close? You're not doing close grip. And I'm like, oh no, this is comfortable. It's shoulder width, da 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 da. And I'm stuck. So I didn't listen to what he said. He told me to widen my grip, and I'm gonna have to tell him he was right.
I noticed
he was right. Yeah, most people. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I noticed that too. When it's like this and you bench, like some people say you get more back in there, but I noticed when I go a little bit wider and come out, I can push a lot more.
Yeah, you can usually like flare your lats when your hands out a little wider, so you can use your back a little bit more. I mean, most people start so close because they use all tricep because they don't have strong chests, so you have to move your hands out to use the chest. But they actually, I can't remember what I want to say. I did it I think it was in my video. They did a study they took all these people and did this study I think it was in North Carolina. And they measured like from clavicle to clavicle. And they said, if you take that measurement and double it, at that distance between your first 2 fingers, that's your most optimal mechanical advantage for your body. So, and for the average person. Now, if you're a person with really short shoulders or really wide, but you're supposed to double it. And so when I take my tape measure out and I measure all the girls' clavicles, and then we double it and put their hands on the bar, and it's amazing the difference that it makes.
Yeah, it's weird. That's one thing I love about is people think you just go out there and sling some weight, but there's so much like mechanics to it, and just the littlest tweaks make such a huge difference.
Oh yeah, especially if you've been doing it a while. Yeah.
And I tell people, I'm like, you could be super strong, but I'm sure there's something that you could change, some little thing, whether it be looking a certain way or pointing your toes out more or whatever, that's going to help your lifts. And, it's amazing. It's all mechanics, and people think it's strength, but it's not.
I've been doing this, for a long time, and I'm still constantly improving and changing things and working on different techniques and stuff. It should always be a work in progress. You know, if you want to keep improving, you got to keep changing and trying new things.
And that's life. But so here's a good question for you.
Okay.
What are some things that you've done that have helped you break past plateaus? Because you've been doing this a long time, so I'm sure you've ran a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly what we've tried to do is it seems like we get stronger the more rest we add in our workouts. So a lot of people train a lot, and so it seems like the more rest we add, the stronger we get. So we take 2 days. We go 2 days on, 2 days off to get most optimal rest in there. The other thing we do is, a lot of people like to have like a deload week and things like that. And what we've done is we just made strict rules in the gym. So like if I'm trying to do 3 sets of 5 with 280 on the bench, if I get 5-4-4, the next time I have to be able to make 5-5-5, or I got to drop weight. So you kind of have to have these rules, because one of the problems with plateaus is you're either A, getting overtrained, or B, you've just hit a weight that you're so slow at you can't press it and you need to jump back and work on the speed. So once you can't keep moving up each week and then your reps aren't going up, you have to drop about 15 pounds and then just start over and really work on the speed of the lift. And then once you work on the speed of the lift, it'll take you past that plateau that you had earlier. So a lot of it is just really listening to yourself and knowing way it's hard to do, because we're all trying in there.
I think you froze up. Uh-oh.
That's kind of the biggest thing. Listening, lots of sleep too.
I think we lost you for a second there.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. You're saying something about sleep. Lots of sleep.
Oh yeah, I get lots of sleep. I get lots of sleep, and I'm a big naps.
Naps. Oh yeah. I'll tell you what, like, yeah, I notice like before I do any, my powerlifting movements, if I can get a nap in before squat day, or I'm benching or whatever, I feel really strong when I go in the gym. And I don't know, it's just you just feel like you have that much more energy. But I think you're right. A lot of people don't get enough rest, or they just constantly try to hit maxes every time they train. And like you said, no deload and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And it's you have to realize, like, at some point, it's not just what you do in the gym. It's sort of a lifestyle thing. We've got a friend of ours that comes in and he has a shitty day, and you're like, well, what'd you eat today? Well, he had all day long he had 1 protein bar. Well, you're never going to lift well if you're not putting the stuff in your body that you need. Mm-hmm. It's an all-encompassing thing. If you want to get stronger and you want to get better, I mean, it's all training, sleeping, eating. It all sort of wraps into one. You got to be dedicated to it.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. Guys, they only put in the work in the gym, but outside you're drinking and not sleeping enough, and it's like then they wonder why they're not seeing results, and it's like because you're not doing everything you can do to get the progress. We're looking at a video right now. I think this is Arnold's.
Yeah, that's the last Arnold.
And I was watching these videos yesterday, and one thing about you that really stood out to me is your intensity. Like you come out before the lift and you're just fired up, like right here, and look at that. Like, I love it. You're just so fired up, and sitting here talking to you right now, you seem pretty laid back, but it seems like when it comes time to compete, you just take it to a whole nother level.
I'm a high school teacher, and so my kids will watch this when I'm there, you know, and I tell them it's my split personality coming out. I don't know who that woman is. I don't know who she is, but she comes out and goes a little nuts.
It's like,
and it's like something takes over. But it's you know, once you've got a few competitions out of your belt, it's a confidence, right? And then and yell, it jacks me up, man. It just gets my adrenaline going. And you know, I don't listen to music. I don't sit there in the back and, you know, like I'm not like, you know, angry and stuff, you know, because I feel like that takes a lot of energy. But you know, when they call your name, you got to flip the switch out there, and I'll scream a little bit. I'll raise my hands and get the crowd going. But I'm doing it selfishly because I get a lot out of that.
Take their energy and use it. Yeah.
You feel like they want you to get it, and you want to get it, and it's, you know, and you feel like, you know, it's about ready to erupt. And
so that's your
being that person for a minute and a half.
That's your Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk moment.
It is. So watch it and they're like, I can't believe that's you. And I'm like, I know, right? I don't know who that is. Some crazy.
So you said now you're a math teacher, right?
Yeah, I've been a math teacher. This is my 20th year teaching.
Oh, wow.
This year I started teaching nutrition. I went part-time. So I teach part-time. I teach morning classes, and then I'm done, which has made this powerlifting stuff a lot easier. You know, I don't have to hold down a full-time job, but I do run all North Carolina powerlifting. We're doing the videos. We're starting these female training camps. So I've sort of taken on a different part-time job that's way more fun in the afternoon. Although teaching's fun, I enjoy it. But it's been a fun change this year. And I teach seniors for the first time, and they're a whole new group of kids. They're nuts.
So math teacher, counting your weights and, you know, coming up with Wilks methods and all that in your head, no problem, huh?
Well, they may always make fun of me in the gym because I'm usually the one that misloads the bar.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, you're a math teacher. How could you add that up wrong?
Now, is there anything that you like, for instance, do you take anything from the powerlifting world, what you know from training and, you know, whatnot, and apply it to your teaching or vice versa?
Well, absolutely, because, you know, just that alone, I mean, gives me a lot of respect among the kids. You know, they know who I am. You know, we live in a small town, so, you know, most people know who I am, the little local papers and stuff like that, and just I've been in the school for a long time. So, I mean, that gives you somebody, you know, I hope to be a good role model for them, you know, and I do like apply what we're doing lifting wise into whether it's the math that we're doing. We've traveled all over the world, so I bring a lot of that too with the places and things that we've seen with powerlifting, and then now teaching nutrition this year. You know, it's hugely relevant, and a lot of the kids that I teach are athletes, so you know, you can really relate how important that nutrition is, and really looking at your protein and your carbs and your.
We lost you again. Froze up.
Frozen up.
No worries, you're back.
Yeah, okay. Good. So yeah, so I mean, we do some lessons with it, and I have a powerlifting club I do after school with the kids. And
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what you're saying about, you know, they have a little more respect for you because of they know what you do. I think that's true because growing up, I always hated math, and I wasn't really that good at it. But there was one year I always remember this. It was fourth grade. And my math teacher was like a world-class long-distance runner. Like he was in all these magazines and stuff. And, you know, we thought it was so cool. And, you know, he had his posters and magazines on the walls and stuff. And something about that, you know, it just kind of made you, you know, want to listen to the person more and give them full attention. And that year I actually thrived at math. It was the only year I was good at math. And I did with it. So. That's really cool though that you do that. So you've been lifting for 17 years. You've been competing for a long time. You know, reading your bio, you've smashed so many records and set so many benchmarks. And competed in so many events. What are some of the records that you hold and whatnot?
Right now I hold the bench press record in the 63 kilos, and it's 312. I hold the total record too. If you add them all up, it's 1071. And all those, of course, are national records, things like that. So I don't know how many times I've broken it. A lot.
Yeah, let me go ahead.
My husband keeps it all in a spreadsheet, and it's something like, I think it's like I've done somewhere around 38 world records I've broken over the years, or something like that.
Let me go ahead and do this for you, just to give the viewers an idea of what a badass you are. All right, so 17 years, current world-class bench press record holder, 312 pounds, current world-class powerlifting record holder, 1,071 pounds, highest Wilks raw bench coefficient for men or women, 156 IPF world bench press champion, 4 times IPF Classic World Powerlifting Champion, 3 times IPF World Masters Equipped Bench Press Champion, IPF, and it says you lifted raw for that, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
People don't know what that means. So equipped is the
Well,
suit.
I went to equipped competition and I beat them all raw is what that means.
Yeah, so the suit basically helps you lift a lot more, and they call that equipped. So she joined equipped meet unequipped with no suit and still beat everybody with the suit. So that's damn impressive. IPF World Masters Equipped Powerlifting Champion, again, lifted raw. 43 broken open and Masters World Records, 19 open national titles, bench only and full power. That's you're an OG in the powerlifting game, basically. Damn impressive. One thing,
it's a great sport of longevity.
That's a salute for sure.
Definitely. One thing that you'd mentioned was you have the best bench pound for pound for men and women in the world.
Yeah. That we call that the Wilks formula, but it's kind of basically what it is. It's a pound for pound bench, and so it's kind of fun because at the Arnold we have a raw bench, and it's men and women competing together. There's no gender specifics, so it's pretty cool winning that because you get to stand on the podium and there's me and 2 big dudes next to me and I beat them.
I wish we had that picture. That'd have been perfect.
I got one somewhere.
Now, doing this for so long, you've like you said, you've been able to travel the world and you've had a lot of opportunities, to do a lot of things. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you? Maybe someone you got to meet or something you got to do, like an event or, any kind of anything that stands out to you?
Well, I mean, just I think being able to go other countries, and you could probably say this based on where you are, really humbles you. Lifestyle that we grew up with, realize how lucky we have it here. We've been to some pretty poor rural places, where kids are pumping water on the corner, and we went to South Africa, I want to say it was 2 years ago, and boy, was that an eye-opening experience. Just the way most of this country lives is sad, compared to definitely, our homeless poor people live way better than the majority of the people in that country.
Yeah, I grew up overseas as a military brat, so to speak. We travel every 2 years, so we went all types of places: Greece, Turkey, Italy, Germany, and just various places. And you see the difference in how people live and the culture, and it changes you from here. Growing up overseas, coming back to the U.S. was culture shock. Because it's so different here than it is overseas.
Oh yeah. So I think that's sort of definitely shaped, who I am over the years. One of the coolest places we went to was New Zealand, though. We did the whole shebang. We did the bungee jumping. We did the zorbing. it was awesome. We did everything. It was by far one of the coolest places I've been, mostly because the people there are awesome and the country's beautiful, and they have a neat respect for their country. You know, they're very proud of it and they take care of it. And it was really, really very cool. We went to Australia last year. That was really neat. Where I don't know if you know who Bonica Law and Kim Walford are, but they're also IPF champions, and we all are going to be heading to Iceland in January. So cool stuff.
You're living the dream, you know, like being able to do what you love, and you know, have that take you, you know, across the world, and you know, just going, you know, to lift. You know, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something like pretty phenomenal feeling like when you're in another country and you're lifting for your country, you know, you have this sense of patriotism. And then when you win and you're on that first place podium and they're playing the national anthem, I never not cry. You know, it's just, it's very emotional and overwhelming, and such a cool thing. I mean, I really hope that one day we get into the Olympics. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime or my career really, but I gotta imagine that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that's a hell of a goal though, you know.
Yeah.
Then we'll be counting her gold medals.
What's that?
Then we'll be counting her gold medals.
I know, huh?
Be nice.
All right, so let's see. One thing you mentioned is you said this earlier. You're the chairman for the North Carolina USA Powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that entail?
Well, when I first got into the sport, you know, I really enjoyed all the competitions and stuff. And at some point I sort of felt, you know, it's a volunteer organization. So I sort of felt like I should start giving back a little bit because these people were working so hard to put on great events that I was enjoying. So I became a referee, partly because I was pissed off at some of the calls I was getting. But then I thought, I can't be pissed off if I'm not out there doing it too. So became a referee, and then it just so happened that North Carolina didn't have a state chair at the time. We only had 30 members, I think, in North Carolina. And the president of our organization called me up. He's like, will you take it? And I'm like, sure. Work hard. We didn't have any referees. Meets hadn't been put on. So I had to learn by fire on how to put on a meet. Our first one was so bad. I'm so embarrassed by that first one we put on. We had no idea what we were doing. But that was, you know, probably almost 10 years ago. And so now basically what it means is anyone that wants to put on a USA Powerlifting event, I have to approve it. All anyway, I want to make sure they're good quality, run well, the athletes are treated well, our standards are upheld, you know, all that sort of good stuff. So I end up running quite a bit of them, and then we have a few people to run them too. And we keep up our website and our Facebook and all our records stuff. And so it kind of like the work comes in waves. You know, we have a meet coming up and it gets really busy, and then all the records, and then there's nothing for a while. You know, but we were talking earlier. I mean, powerlifting is growing in leaps and bounds, and we can't put on enough events, and they fill up like crazy. And actually a lot of it's women. When I first started, you know, we were lucky to get 3 or 4 women in a meet, and now our competitions are half. And I think that's quite huge.
Well, you brought up 2 interesting points that I want to talk on. One is powerlifting growing. Now you've been doing this since the 90s.
Oh yeah.
That was before, you know, the internet was a commonplace and everyone had a computer in their pocket, and you know. Right.
No videos, no nothing. No smartphones.
So how was it back then compared to now, as far as, you know, powerlifting and getting information and getting the word out there and finding things and yada yada yada?
Well, I mean, back then you were kind of on your own. I mean, it was just reading articles. Muscle and Fitness really was one of the big magazines, one of the only fitness magazines, and then the Powerlifting USA. So you would read articles in there, but mostly it was at competitions. You just, you know, one of the great things about powerlifting is I think the community that we have. Mm-hmm. And so we would all just say, hey, I'm doing this now, or I heard about this reverse hyper, you got to try that, or I'm trying this program now. So really it was, you had to really work for it. Now it's so easy. I mean, there's online But I don't know that that's always that great either, because there's all these online programs and all these videos that you can watch and things like that, and it's pretty good at weeding out the shit and knowing what's quality, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a, yeah, there's definitely it's an over flooded market now, and
Certainly.
you know, a lot of people who enter, you know, the fitness lifestyle, they don't know any better, so they could go to some guy's channel and he's giving them horrible advice, and you know, they see him on YouTube and think he knows he's the man online, so they listen, and you know, but
and there's a lot of online coaching now too, you know, which is sort of a interesting concept, that someone's going to write your training program for you, and you're going to send you videos, and they're going to evaluate you, and people like I call it game day coaching, where you pay them to come coach you on the day you compete, and just
how does that
work? It's a little bit, I think it's a little crazy myself.
Yeah, I don't know,
because we always just helped each other out. We didn't charge anybody, you know. But some people are trying to make a living off this, so.
Yeah, there's definitely some scammers out there, but there are some quality coaches out there as well. We've had
absolutely.
Yeah, we've had a few on our show, and one in particular, she actually is really dedicated to what she does, and she really cares about her clients and stuff like that. But she has a hard time competing in this oversaturated market when there's so many, you know, low quality people that are just scamming and, you know, trying to get money and stuff. And it's a sad thing, but it's a good, it's nice to know that there's legit, hardworking, caring people like yourself who, you know, do it right.
I don't claim to be, you know, a coach. I mean, I know what I know just from experience, but I have no, people ask me to coach them, and I say no, because I don't have an education in exercise science or physiology, or, I mean, I can just share my experiences with you, but I am not a certified coach of any means, and I don't want to be, because I know I'm not that qualified for it. You know, I can share experiences and tell you what works for me and what I see, but it's not a career for me. It's not something I've studied and that I am, you know, I carry a degree around in. So I wouldn't claim to want to do that.
Yeah. Well, let me, like, for example, your channel, you're putting a lot of good information out there, good tips. Like I said, I used one yesterday, you know, so it's good to have legit sources like yours that are actually going to help people and steer them in the right way. So again, 132 pounds of power. Check it out. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that you mentioned was, you know, being a female in a traditionally male dominated sport. You know, you talked about earlier, really shaming guys. Some guys, you know, they see what you're doing, and, you know, it kills their ego. How is that, like, you know, when you first started and, you know, up to now, you know, coming in and seeing more females kind of become part of the sport, and you know, competing against guys and beating guys, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think they asked, I have an article coming out in Power Magazine, Mark Bell's magazine. I think it's coming out next magazine in November, December. And they asked me something similar. And it's so funny because when I first started, my dad was not happy. He's like, no daughter of mine's going to look like a man, you know, and he was not happy about it. And you know, especially back then, you didn't see a lot of women with muscles. I really looked up a lot to Corey Everson. Do you know who that is? She's and Linda Murray. They were kind of one of the very first big female bodybuilders. They were in a couple movies, but they were still like feminine, really feminine, pretty good-looking bodybuilders. But they were really sort of making their mark. And you know, and there were times where, I mean, I'm not particularly huge, but I have muscles, and I'd had guys come up and tell me that I look too manly, you know, just all of a sudden out of the blue in Walmart. Some guys, you know, walking me down and telling me they didn't like the way I look. And I just, you know,
geez,
it was ridiculous, you know. But now with, I think social media has helped a lot. You know, the fitness in women is a lot more acceptable, and probably more, you see it as more of an ideal. And that can be taken different ways with powerlifting. I mean, we've got weight classes, and so it's for any body type, which I think is pretty cool. You don't have to fit a certain mold to be a powerlifter. You can be a short girl, you can be a tall girl, you can be a skinny girl, you can be a fat girl, you can, and be very successful and in shape at what you do. So, we've really seen it come a long way. I think CrossFit's helped a lot with that. Because generally women have steered away from the weight room because they're afraid they're going to look like a man. Like all of a sudden, if you pick up a weight, you're going to be a dude. It just cracks me up that people think that. You have to work really hard to look like that. It's not going to just happen. But I think CrossFit's gotten women into some of those weights, and then they realize, hey, I really like the way this looks, and this is still feminine looking, and then they kind of carry over into powerlifting. And we started doing, Kim Bonica and I started doing these, they're called Iron Sisters training camps. We did 2 last summer, and then we just launched it last week. We're doing one in Nebraska in January. We're doing one at Barbell Brigade in California in March, and one at Juggernaut in California in March. And then we're going to be up in Toronto. And they're pretty fun. They're like an all-women's weekend. And basically, it's a group of women, and some are like 18 and some are 50 years old. And we really sit there and work with them on their form of the 3 lifts and give them a lot of individual attention. And then there's kind of a sense of camaraderie and sisterhood, we like to call it, for a corny term, that we get. And you really kind of make these lifelong communications with all these people in these camps. And they've been pretty successful. I'm really excited. The one we just launched last week for Nebraska is at Midland University, and they actually just started a powerlifting team this year, and they're giving full ride scholarships to anyone that wants to be on their powerlifting team.
Oh,
so
wow.
If you're college age, Tim Anderson's the man you need to talk to. But that's the first time we've seen that happen for powerlifting. For it to be it's been in colleges, but they've never given away huge scholarships like that. They're giving away, it's a free ride with room and board, and it's a really nice college. And you have to live in Nebraska though for a few years. So we're doing one of our camps there in January, and we just launched it last week, and it's almost half full. So we're pretty excited.
That's awesome. I was born in Nebraska.
Oh, so you like it, yeah?
No, I like Arizona more nowadays, but yeah, I was born in Nebraska.
What is that?
I've never been there.
Yeah, Offutt's there. I was born in Omaha.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where this is. It's in Fremont.
Oh, okay.
You've ever heard of Midland and Fremont?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where it is. And they Midland hired Tim Anderson, he's a world bench press champion. And they gave him a blank check to build a powerlifting room. Isn't that wild?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 I think that's pretty cool. I think that says something.
The sport's definitely growing. You talk about sisterhood and all that stuff. And like I said, the Bar Beast group is definitely, it fits that category of, just women trying to uplift each other and, motivate each other and be strong and learn from each other and stuff like that. So I'll start sharing some of your content in the group and tagging you, and maybe you can
That'd be great.
Get those girls involved as well. One thing you mentioned was women having this misconception that if they pick up weights, they're gonna get all jacked and have no neck and just look like China from WWF, and
yeah,
it's still in some parts out there. I mean, I've talked to girls that are like, oh, I don't like to lift because I don't want to get too big. And I'm like, if it's not that easy, trust me, like you're not going to just work out for a couple months and just be huge,
Yeah. Those women, I mean, they put a lot of time into that gym to look like that. I mean, it's like job.
And other things, not just lifting weights, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And I think the ideal image for a healthy, good-looking woman is starting to change. Back in the day, it was these skinny, bony runway models, and now it's like more, aesthetic and toned, and that's the perception of healthy and fit is the new sexy. You see that a lot out there, but it's true. And I might be speaking from a biased point of view, but I mean, I see a woman with a toned body and arms and just nice and tight, and it's a lot more appealing than some skinny girl with no muscle tone. Like, I don't know. I think maybe it's my circle too, but it's becoming more and more common.
I think it's getting more mainstream. And we even have we have clothing lines from Title IX and Athleta that are, this clothes made for athletic women. And it's, Athleta is owned by the Gap. So the fact that you have these big, huge clothing companies catching on to that athletic women need clothes that fit them better. I think that says something definitely about where it's going and what the ideal woman looks like, for sure. It's not,
definitely
a size 0.
Yeah, it's definitely changing. Okay, so you had mentioned your husband, and you that's how you kind of got into this or whatever. But he's also your coach, right?
Yeah. And he's a lifter too. He lifts.
Okay. Now, how does that relationship work? Your husband's your coach as well.
Well, we've been married 21 years now. In the beginning, we had to set some firm ground rules. It was a little rocky start. Because he was a high school wrestling coach. He wrestled in high school. He was a national champion wrestler. He was invited to Olympic trials. So he was a big time wrestler guy. And I had to explain to him that I was not one of his wrestlers. And I didn't want to get yelled at. That was not motivating for me, and that I responded better to positive encouragement, and we were always really good friends, though, before we started dating and got married. So I think that helps, too, that we have this pretty strong friendship. But it took some, we had to really set some rules and really kind of hash some things out in the beginning. But now it's, we've been doing it so long. He does all our programming and all our exercises, and we're always constantly changing things around. And we work on that a little bit more now together. We bounce ideas off each other, but he's pretty good at what he does.
Obviously.
We've had a lot of people come through our gym that have done quite well because of him. He knows his stuff. He's got a medical background, so he really applies his knowledge of medicine and just the way the body moves and techniques to what we do, and that's hugely helpful. And I sort of overshadow his accomplishments a lot, which he's fine with. But he's a national champion bench presser and does quite well in the Masters and the 3 lift, and so he's got some records and some titles of his own. He's no slouch.
You guys actually have competed together?
Oh yeah. We were at Bench Nationals just in Colorado a few weeks ago, and he won. He lifted raw and equipped, which you called the suit. So he won the raw and took second in the equipped. Okay. So pretty good. Yeah, he lifts in the 83 kilos, which is 183 pounds, and he benched 365 raw.
Oh wow!
And then he did, I think it was 455 in the shirt.
Okay.
Shirts give you a lot.
Oh yeah, that's why when I read, you competed in equipped without a suit and won. That blows my mind. That's a ballsy move.
Yeah, well, when we first started, that's all there was. There was no raw powerlifting. Everybody was equipped. There wasn't it at all. No one did not do it. And so I did it, I want to say till 2010 maybe was the last year I wore it. And I was done with it. It's not easy to use. It's difficult. It's hard to explain your friends, I did this much sort of, and so it just happened, the economy hit 2009. And I almost think that they sort of kind of converged together with Raw and the economy, where people weren't wanting to pay, $200 for a bench shirt and, a couple $100 for a squat suit. And I just had decided, I'm like, I'm done with it. I'm just going to compete, run where it is. And then Raw popped up right at the same time, and it really took off. And so I've always been way stronger Raw than I had in the equipment anyway. So it was perfect.
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a few of us, there was a few of us that were at the top of our game in the equipment, and then Raw came, we all took it off, and some of us stayed the top, some of us didn't.
Yeah, I grew up watching my dad powerlift, and I remember being as a kid watching him get into those suits, and it was like, he had a guy on this side, guy on this side, and they're both, trying to get it on him. I'm like, man.
It's comical, really. It's comical and, crazy all in the same way. I mean, really though, like for North Carolina, years ago, all you had was equipment, and now we don't, we offer both Raw and equipped. You have both divisions in USA Powerlifting, but all our meets are 100% Raw. It's been such a 180 with the equipment and the Raw. I mean, our Raw Nationals next weekend is 1,100 people.
That's insane.
That it didn't even come close to that, and it was not too long ago. So you can see where it's going.
Yeah. I think wearing the suit, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of an ego thing. Not to call anybody out, but it's like, I can lift this much more if I put this suit on. Like, I don't know. All right.
It definitely takes like a certain skill to be able to do it. There's a lot of skill involved in how you put these on and your technique and how much you can lift. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. It definitely takes a certain skill and know how to do it. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks, but
yes. Yeah.
All right, Jennifer. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Yeah, I'm a fan ever since I saw that video. I look forward to you do great things and, seeing you more online and hopefully in the groups. But
yeah, I have Instagram. I got a big Instagram account. All my accounts are Jen Thompson 132. So I always Snapchat it and Instagram it and Pinterest it. My kids have taught me how to do all this social media stuff. I'm getting good at it.
That's the
I really enjoy it. It's actually a lot of fun seeing all that stuff out there.
Now, do your kids, are they into this?
They're 10 and 12.
Oh, okay.
Actually, my son Tucker, he's going to be 13 pretty soon. He's going to do his first powerlifting meet November 5th. So he's all excited about it.
There we go. Yeah, he's in good hands.
Yes, he's a strong little dude. He's been doing really well, so he's all jacked up to put on his show. So we'll see how it goes. I hope he has fun.
That's awesome. All right, so before we wrap up, do you want to give any shout-outs, like shout-outs to, friends or your sponsors, perhaps?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, SBD Apparel is a sponsor of mine. They do, I love their singlets. They have great singlets for women. They're not a boxy old polyester thing. So I think they put on good singlets. And then one of my new sponsors is LVD Fitness. And they're an apparel company out of Canada. And one of the reasons I signed on with them is because part of their money goes to getting people that don't have clean water.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also working on a project with them through my kids in school, and we created our own t-shirt, and the money is going to Stopping Hunger in America. So really excited. And their clothes are really, they're pretty great. I mean, the t-shirts are awesome. They got great designs and different shirts. That's lvdfitness.com if you're interested.
Okay.
And then I know you got your own supplement company, but I have mine too. I love SSP Nutrition. They got a great pre and post drink. So I'm thankful because, with all this travel to all these world things you talk about, it takes some people to help you get there, So I'm grateful for those people. And I'm grateful for all our Carolina lifters and all my training partners and people like you that put this stuff out there and help grow our sport. It's a sport, and it's a really great community of people.
Well, appreciate it. If you want to get me the links for any of those, I can put them on.
Okay.
I can put them on this video, so anybody watching right now, or later on, if you want to check out any of the links, just go below on the video and you can check out.
That'd be great.
Oh, one last thing I'd like to ask people: do you have any words of advice? It could be lifting, life, anything. You leave the viewers with.
Oh, so many options on that one. Nice. I just think mostly, and this is kind of goes as being a mother. I've had this talk with my kids. You treat people how you want to be treated, and if you put the effort in, the reward will come. In whatever you do, you try. I looked at my son the other day. He did this project for school, and I looked at it and I go, was that your best work on that? Because it was terrible. Yeah. And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, you should be embarrassed about that. You put your best work in, and good things will come out in the end, whether right away or later. I firmly believe if you treat others a certain way, it comes back on you in tenfold.
Well said.
Be good to each other. There's so much meanness in this world. Be good to each other.
Definitely.
Well said. Well, thanks for being on the show. It's been a pleasure. You've been a great guest. I actually really enjoyed doing this one. Look forward to talking with you and possibly, doing some things down the road.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it as well.
I really enjoyed it also. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Take it away, Larry.
All right, you guys. Thanks for being with us this week, and thank our guests. So as you guys know, we do have our supplements on our way. Plutonium, which is our pre-workout. Thermite, which is our fat burner. And our post-workout is Chain Reaction. So stay tuned to keep with us, and we'll get those to you guys and let you guys know what's going on there. And that's all we have for this week. So stay tuned till next week. And thank our guests once again.
See you later. Barbell Life.